Had a brief amount of time, so I thought I'd just get one of these in. It is 9:35. I'm tired, and they have a birthday. Um, the fan is loud, so I don't even really know if you can hear me. Um, the beard's been gone for like 10 days or something like that. Maybe a little less, 8 days. Um, Hi. I got on a bus last week from Chennai, staying at Mama's sister's house. That was super fun. And then I got here. Took me a few days to adjust. I was so bored in the beginning, and then I figured out, it's that it's really that lesson that I feel like this last year Airbnb taught me, and that anytime you feel like you can't do it, it's just that you're not looking hard enough to figure out how to do it. And so the second your brain starts telling you you can't do it, you can't do it, and you get locked onto that, there's no way you're going to try to be creative enough to figure out how to do it. So I feel like when you have limitations that allow you from not backing out. So for example, it's the same examples that I always, whether it's being at Lightning in a Bottle and literally not being able to leave. I don't have a car. I can't leave. Being in the tent and having told 20, 30 people that I was doing it. I couldn't just be like, I had to stop doing it because I was scared. Spending time with Aya and not wanting to cut it short. There was not a possibility for me to cut it, to be like, I'm going to leave. And so then your brain stops that track of like, okay, what do you need to do to get out of here? And it switches onto this new track. What do you need to do to make this work? And I feel like once your brain starts thinking on that line, all of a sudden all these possibilities start opening up. And so I've been having never thought I'd have fun or be busy in Devakonda, but I have. I've been writing and working on my browser history project. I just started teaching again today, and that takes up probably around 4 to 5 to 6 hours a day. Outside of that, whether it's playing, so I'm here with Uma, Aya, Abi, who is Uma's daughter, um, and just, I've had a lot of interesting kind of experiences this last week. It's been a week. So I first came here. First 3 days was the Butterfly, which is pretty much like a way to. So here's another interesting thought. If I explain what I'm gonna say right now, then that's a hint to me that I'm not doing these video journals for myself. Because if it's just me watching it in the future, I know what a butterfly is. But if I explain it, then it is with some slight hint on, oh, this is for other people to watch. This is more of a podcast. So then you gotta, make that conscious decision of this: is this a journal or is this a podcast? What is your intent behind doing this? And so, you know what messed it up? I started these journals only doing it for myself, but then multiple people, at least 6 or 7 people, have like brought up something I said on one of these. So they're like, "Oh, I watched your journal," or "I watched your like." Oh, I keep up with you by watching your journal. Then all of a sudden in my head, I'm like, oh, well, okay, there's a few people that tag along to just like keeping up with me through these. So then it's not so like, and when I know those people are mean a lot to me, then I feel like this becomes something a little more intimate in that, okay, it's like this connection with these people that I have through saying these things, which there isn't anything wrong. It's kind of like what I'm writing in this article right now, which is like, look, if my goal is to achieve like the maximum amount of honesty about like what my experience is like, I think you have to do it as if no one's watching. But the only issue is to be like, look, you could be in that Jim Carrey movie where he doesn't know he's being recorded and just lives his life, and that may be the optimal way to somehow have yourself be a kind of like a recorded moment for people in the future to understand what it was like to live now. But that's not doable. So anytime you're recorded, you're going to have some slight awareness of the fact that you're being recorded. And so ideally, you'd want to reduce the amount of that awareness of that reporting to minimal. So like let's say you're taking a picture. The second you're like, hey, everyone posed, let's take a picture. All of a sudden you have taken everyone from their element and from that environment, and it is now something completely different that did not exist before that picture came out. So what you're taking a picture of is this fabricated world in which everyone's fake smiling and playing their role and looking pretty and standing in the right. It's not the genuine moment. So if what you're trying to do is the moment, then people should not know that they're being taken a picture of. But someone needs to take the responsibility of taking the picture. So they have to then leave the moment to go do that. So in the same way, when you're doing something like this, so I'm not going to be like, hey, someone walk around and video my life. I mean, that's ridiculous. The only other way to do it is to self-record. And to do that, you have to take this. But to connect back on the point is something that matters to me, and my intention is to be as honest as possible. Like make this as close to kind of some whatever the closest you can get to some objective perception of my life is. And so to do that, I have to not choose what things to say based on, oh, if I know these 6 people are listening, I want to say things right. But if 6 people, for example, are invested in your absolute honesty, then is it possible to do it? In fact, maybe even inspired by the fact that people are watching, like, oh, they're watching, I want to be as real as possible. That's also possible. In essence, this India trip has just been making me realize that like for every belief I have, there's 3 beliefs to look at in a completely different view. I mean, when I tell you my entire life was built on the belief that individualism and like doing what you want is like a objective good virtue. Coming here has completely shaken that. In that I actually don't even I can see so many arguments for why individualism doesn't matter that much. That why just doing what you want is not this ubiquitous great virtue to always have. I never thought that would happen. My entire life to this point has been built on what I want to do. To even conceive of a world that's not has really been like, whoa, like, what do I know about anything? Maybe like my most fundamental beliefs are wrong. And so, I don't even know where so I went to the Puttiper. So I'm thinking about, okay, well, that train of thought was, should I define what it is or not? Um, should I? Let's see. This decision makes a difference between a podcast and a journal. I want it to be a journal because it's a slippery slope. Once you start with, I want to do it for my 3 friends, that turns into 10, that turns into 20, that turns into 100, that turns into 10,000. You keep it as this is for myself, it just cannot escape that. But then you got to answer the question, why are these public on the internet? But I think outside all the question, I love this and I enjoy doing this, and I find a lot of joy in kind of being able to be bold and kind of be my absolute honest self without kind of like fear of like, oh my God, like will I be able to get a job? Like I love that actually. I never want to live a life where I have to kind of stymie versions of myself. Is it stymie versions of myself for some occupation, and it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, what type of job is that? You should be encouraged to be that. But okay, so I went to this Putty. Long story short, I can do both. I can do both. I can maybe do it journal at 90%, 10% podcast to kind of just explain what it is. If anyone, I mean, no one's watching. But a Padapa is basically this honoring of your ancestors. I mean, what do I know? I barely know from my very 101 understanding. It's like a way of honoring your ancestors through like this process of like you have a bunch of their clothes that you've like kept for decades. I mean, this is going back 5 generations. And you have their clothes and you kind of bring it out on these days and everyone washes it and that's like a whole process in itself. You dry them and you do all of this and then you like Put their you pray to it. You like put all their jewelry out and everything. And you pray to it. There's like a whole bunch of things that go on. It's a feast. You eat a lot of food. It happened for 2 days. All the family comes, and it's just like a way to, remember and pray to the ancestors. And so that was 2 days when I first got to Devagote, and it was cool to see all my family and like be with them. It was cool. A lot of like the really old generation was no longer there, so it was kind of cool to see how even in my conservative community, how kind of a lot of the values and virtues have changed since the people who were 70 and 80 were there and are no longer there. It's like now everyone's in the 30 and 40, and it's very different. It's a lot more relaxed and open, and it was fun. It was fun. I feel like I had a lot of fun. Played a lot of cricket. I It was good. And so that was the first 2 3 days. Then there was a 1 day break, and then we went to like a Sandi for 2 days, which is like a big celebration of a person's 60th birthday, but I think this one was 75th. And they kind of like do a whole remarrying process. So it's like a person gets married again. And then it's been another one free day, and then a lot of really exciting temples I'm going to this next week. And then there's like this giant kind of it's called a Tiruvalla. I don't even know what that is in English, like a festival, but a religious festival. I heard the story is basically like this. There's this temple, and the god that's supposed to like be in the temple is never there. And then for 2 weeks they like pull it out of the ocean and then put it up, and then like people just, I guess, pray and I don't think party, but maybe religious partying. I don't know what that looks like for like 2 weeks, and then they take the god and put it back in under the ocean. But that sounds hype. Like that sounds hype. That would be crazy to be that. I don't even know what to like expect. That would be nuts. But yeah, so that's like happening for 2 weeks, starting next week, I think. So I'm gonna be in Devakote for probably on the 27th, and then around then I'll probably head over to my aunt's house. But man, crazy. This trip has already, something I'm learning. Man, this has just been a very reflective, I feel like, period of my life. I'm just like, what am I doing? Where am I going? Um, Understanding that, like, I think about, okay, I was gonna say, what I was gonna say is, I was gonna say I've only been here for a month. And tomorrow I'm here for a month. And I was gonna say so much has happened. And on these video journals for 3 years in a row, I've said that same thing. So much has happened. So much has happened. And I've div, dove into what that means. Is that true? What does it mean for a lot to happen? Does a lot happen as long as you're alive? Like you have to be out. Like even if you're doing nothing, I feel like a lot happens. Like um, what you consider a lot is very based on like what's happening inside your mind, as much as it is how much is new happening out around you. But I feel like what the change is happening now is there is a lot happening around you. A very completely new country, culture, in environments that I didn't think I would be, right? I mean, this whole trip again was unplanned. I still think back to getting here, my bag not delivering, none of that was planned. I mean, the whole trip, I did not know I was going to be here for some zombie. I mean, this entire trip was unplanned. And so anything can happen. I can be anywhere. Anything can kind of go down. The education project got moved from the Himalayas down to a village in Tamil Nadu called Gudalur. Like I don't. Maybe it will happen. Maybe it won't. I have another interesting opportunity maybe to do something in Pondicherry. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. Who knows? We'll see. Um, but as I sit and reflect on like, okay, a lot has happened. I think one change that has happened now is I no longer feel pride from the fact of saying a lot has happened. I feel like earlier when I said that, it came with a sense of pride, like, oh my God, so much has happened in this last week. Because it meant something to me. When I said that, what it meant is, look, my life is so worth living. Because it's going so slowly, because so much has happened to me. This 1 week has felt like a year. But it's always like, man, it's always like what that Captain Irwin said before he got killed. He was like, dude, No matter what you thought meaning, no matter what you thought, when that speeding rock hits you, you're dead. It does not matter. And so you think like at that moment you're gonna be like, oh, I'm so glad this last week so much happened to me. I'm so glad. Like it's kind of this understanding that like this concept of so much happened to you. Like, don't be proud of it for the fact that like you think your life is somehow like more worth living or something. Are you enjoying it? Hell yeah. Is it making your life worth living? Yes, but it it's not more worth living than not experiencing it. That's the key part. Does this make me feel alive and with it? Hell yeah. But I don't know that I would not have found that same meaning and purpose and wisdom elsewhere if I was just at home now with my parents. Like, I don't know. But I feel alive and I feel present and I feel good. And you don't need to get arrogant about that, I guess is what I want to tell myself. It's that, okay, life is good. Like, you had these experiences, opportunities, challenges. You're leading a life in these last few weeks that you enjoy and want. But that doesn't mean you like boast your chest and go, yeah, I experienced it a lot. Like, you don't need to do that. You can simply be, okay, this is a period in my life where these opportunities have been presented to me. In the next, a different set will. And then in the next, a different set will. It's not anything to be arrogant or kind of pompous about in saying so this so much has happened. Understand, being around Ayana, Uma, and Abi, I feel like this is the first time in my life I've like I'm seeing other people have wealth when we don't. I'm seeing, I went to uncle's house. They're all on AC all day. They're eating the best food ever. You come back here, it's different. And I feel like for the first time, I'm really experiencing like the humility that I think comes with that, in in kind of understanding like, damn, like I feel like my whole life I've either had as much. I never was like, oh, like I don't have something. I never felt that like I don't have something. This is the first time where like we've been eating really like mid food, like not even mid. See, that's the thing. When I say mid, we think about taste. I'm talking about quantity. I'm not talking about mid in taste. I'm talking about mid in size, portion size. Like mid in nutrition. Very different than mid in like, oh, the taste isn't that good. I've always had enough quantity size. Quantity has never been a problem in my life. This is the first time where I'm like, oh, I'm actually like not consuming enough food. Like, oh, like it's just a whole bunch of things have. It's it's a sense of like, damn, like there's a lot of issues on this planet that I feel like making a life for yourself is easy. That's not really some great admirable accomplishment. That's the bare minimum. That's the requirement. Making a life for yourself is the base. Like it's learning how to breathe. Like next is being able to support those who can't. Like I just feel like I've been slacking. Like just understanding like what privilege I've had, the opportunity I've had, man, like from everything. Everything here is an inconvenience. I mean, we run out of water. We damn near ran out of water, like today. And like you have to, you have to call somebody to come deliver you water. And at the very least, we have that. I'm saying in probably many places they don't even have someone to come deliver them water, and they probably have to, go do it themselves. So we had someone came and deliver us drinkable water, and we had a current cut today for like 2 hours. Like it's just like not having electricity for that long. You just realize how much everything runs on that. Your entire life runs on electricity. And so okay, so now okay, then you have to hand wash everything, and then you got to learn these new forms of. I'm sleeping on my yoga mat on this like hard, cold ground. It's not even. I mean, I haven't seen any carpet here. I think it's too hot for carpet, but it's just cool. It's just everything is different, and it kind of like humbles you into realizing like I came in with the belief of like, oh, you feel sense of pity, right? You like people. But what I realized is like that's actually I think the place where I go wrong, and I think where a lot of people go wrong, where that kind of like white savior mindset is wrong, is that the approach is not pity. These people are not less than. They're not less valuable than. It's not like they made some mistake for this to happen. It's not like, oh, look at this poor little kid. Because it's like, no, they got the same meaning, purpose, drive they wake up with every morning. They still got that dog in them as well. And I feel like the best way to respect someone is to not pity them, but to like see them for what they are, which is a human as well. And to understand that, look, we all got different playing cards that we were dealt, but then everyone's trying their absolute best. Like they don't. No one's just like, oh, please give me a handout. Like please help. Nobody's doing that either. Everyone's doing their absolute best to provide for themselves and their family, and to do what they can for their culture. And I mean, for their society. There's no like. Nobody needs pity, but what people do need is like a genuine opportunity, a genuine like help. Um, Opportunity more than help, right? I mean, and then there are some levels of help as well, but I just think this concept of pity is something I no longer feel. Where I'm like, oh, you're so sad, like it's so sad, it's so terrible. Like, no, like this is just the state of what it is. This is what needs to happen, and this is how it needs to get done. Like, there's no kind of like, oh, this sucks. Like, people are fighting hard to like provide for to do what they got to do, and so it's like you can't look at somebody like that and feel bad for them. I think it just really is very dehumanizing to look at someone and to take by pity, in pity you take away their humanity in some weird way. You're like, oh, poor something. Like I don't know. There's something dehumanizing about pity. I think it others and undermines like what value and beauty that they do have that you may not. Pity, I think, underlooks all of that, and it kind of makes them into this like poor dog or something. I learned how to deal with barking dogs. Just walking on the street. There's like 4 or 5 dogs that own every street. So if you walk through a street and the dog didn't know you, they're just barking at you. So Aya taught me some tricks. I tried it. I thought it didn't work. I tried it. It was fine. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be brave and do that stupid sound. You're like catcalling a dog. Um, but every step of the way, man, the school here, like how they're teaching, how they're learning, how like everyone thinks about a job here, it's so different. Enjoying a job, not a thing. A job is like for sustenance, for survival. But seeing people kind of do this whole like single mother parenting, the type of food, like I got too much to say on that, and I don't know how much I kind of want to put other people's business on the internet. So I probably won't do that. I'll stick to putting my own business. Um, but yeah, here's next week. Excited to spend more time with Aya. Excited. I think I'll have this article done by the next time I do one of these videos. So I'm excited for that. Um, Apart from that, yeah, I'm glad I got to record this. It's been a while. Um, I love you. See you around, brother.